Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number 44 of TNT, the Twisted New Testament, with Rabbi Stuart Federow from the Big H, the Houston Astros, Texas. Welcome back, Rabbi. Good to see you again.
Good to be back.
Hey,
always good to be back.
Very, very good to have you back, for sure. Awesome, man. Wow, it's been a great week. We had a good trip to Oklahoma to visit some family. Got back, everything's nice and safe and cozy. One of these days I'll get my voice back here in a few days. So if you guys hear me clearing my throat a lot, I do apologize, but I believe it'll be necessary. I'll try to mute the microphone. I can't mute the microphone on Facebook Live though. And so you guys are subject to just listening to me clear my throat, but I can actually I can turn it down on the YouTube channel as far as that goes. So yeah, very cool. Wow. So tell us about your week. How have you been, sir?
Well, doing okay. Last weekend, like the weekend of the, whatever it was, 27, 26, 5, the 18th, I was kind of in bed the whole weekend. I was not feeling well.
Really? Oh.
But got better, back to work on Tuesday, full speed ahead through the weekend.
Good. And you're climbing uphill now, so that's probably pretty good. I know for me it is.
Yep.
It's been about 2 weeks now that my throat has been hoarse, and Baruch Hashem, I haven't been, I guess you could say, deeply sick. My lungs and stuff are clear. It's just my voice is gone, and my nose gets a little stopped up. I don't know if it's sinuses or if it's cold.
That's what I had last week. I had a bad sinus trouble.
Yep. So
Yep.
I'll be glad for that to go away as soon as possible. So, well, cool deal. Well, the phone lines, my dear holy brothers and sisters, is open. Let me put the number on your screen, 855-95-BIBLE. And no, I repeat, no, this is not MetaShare, although Hannity might seem to think so. I should play that audio recording. That was funny. Ladies,
you really ought to.
You know what? Funny. If I should have marked it.
There's so many of them, too.
Yeah. I should have marked it because the lady was like, I was watching Hannity, and he said if you call 855-95-BIBLE that I could get a discount on my insurance or something. I was pretty sure that was Geico, but
yeah.
Who knows? All right, cool. I had to clear my throat again. Sorry. Got to the knob just in time. So good deal. Okay, so what I'm going to do is answer this phone call.
Yeah, Michael, just so you'll know, MetaShare is really for Christians. It's where everybody combines their money together and people join in to pay everybody else's bills. It's Christians only.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right. Well, caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, William. This is Fernando from South Carolina.
Fernando, how are you, brother?
I'm sick too.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we know the feeling.
I started getting sick earlier today.
Wow, that's too bad, man. May you be healed quickly, Shlema, for sure. So give us a question to work with tonight, brother.
Rabbi, a question, yeah.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I was thinking earlier today, for the idol worshippers, people that go to church. I have basically my whole family in church, my siblings, my father, even my mom. And will God give those people a break at Judgment Day, or are they going to be punished for being idol worshippers?
Remember something, they're not Jews. Okay, they are not Jews, and they are not called to do what Judaism demands. Judaism believes that there is an afterlife for all people. A person is judged on their behavior, what they actually do, not on their belief system. And I know that people will say, but it's your belief system that leads to your actions, and that's true. But what you're actually judged on is the actions, not the belief system. So if a person, it doesn't matter what their belief system is, the fact that they're idolaters, look, the Noahide laws are very specific. They're not supposed to be idolaters, but you have to accept Judaism's view that there is a Noahide law before you're going to follow it. They don't even know it exists. So they're judged by God on their behavior, not on their religion, not on their idolatry. And, there's something I've said before. I'm going to say it again and again and again. You have to remember that our God, the Jewish God, the only God, the real God, is not so petty and small that God is only going to answer the prayers of those who believe in God and who use the right name or have the right belief system or, this kind of thing. Our God isn't that petty and small. God answers the prayers of all peoples. Right.
That's a great point. And it's interesting that you're explaining it that way too, because we Fernando, I know you probably have felt this, or you still feel it, or you've experienced it at least, where you're walking through the store, through Walmart or whatever, to buy something, and it's the American holiday season, and all the Christmas stuff's up, and your kids are probably well trained enough to say, "Ooh, idolatry, pagans." My kids have, and at first I was thinking, okay, in my mind I was thinking, oh, good boy, but I was in public, I was like, oh no, honey, be quiet, don't say that. But realistically, I'm thinking, you know what, kind of like what Rabbi was saying, it's like, they're not Jews. They're not expected to follow the Torah, Now, granted, to be a Noahide, you have to believe in only one God, so there is a violation there. But I find it interesting, too, because I've heard the same thing from other rabbis, is their accountability to what they believe really is up to what they know is true, and what they how do I say that, Rabbi?
I thought you said it quite well.
Okay.
Their accountability is to what they know.
Right. Gotcha.
And by the way, again, if you don't even know about the idea of a Noahide law, how can you start keeping the laws of the Noahide law?
Right. Yeah.
And unless they have contact with Judaism. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, they would be judged according to the common sense or good behavior, good moral
judged
values,
according to their
morals,
behavior,
and so forth.
If you act bad, you are bad. If you do more bad than good, then you're bad. If you do more good than bad, then you're good. They're going to be judged on what they actually do.
Fair enough.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes good sense.
Judaism, if it is nothing else, Judaism is certainly a practical, practicable religion.
Very good.
Oh, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Hey, Fernando.
Hey.
Be well, my friend.
As we always say, we'll help you or we'll help confuse you. Either way.
And like they say on the hey, you betcha. It's funny. There's a Canadian comedian that I just been watching this last year. He's just it's funny. It's called the Red.
What's his name?
I don't know his name. It's called the Red Green Show, though.
Okay.
And it's he's got two main like mottos. And one of them is use the handyman secret weapon, duct tape. But at the end of the show, even though as goofy as his ideas are, of course it's supposed to be a funny show, he's like, remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. I love that.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And so
it's easy for you to say because you're handy around the house.
Oh, that's funny. And with my son, I tell him, I always go, I only give him the first half just to watch him laugh. I say, remember, if the women don't find you handsome. And he just looks at me and smiles. Oh, man. Okay, let's take this next caller. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name and what your question is. Golly, I got one blank there for a second.
Brock, Southeast Missouri.
Hey, Brock.
I'm actually calling in from last week. Last time I was watching.
Okay, sure.
You might need a recap. Y'all were talking about the whole virgin birth thing. I had brought up back whenever I was in Sunday school, I was told it was through the divine grace that he was conceived. The rabbi was going to comment, and I stupidly didn't let him get a word in. I kept asking another question. I'm kind of wondering what he was going to say about it.
Okay, so just kind of reword the question for me again.
Y'all were talking about how the whole virgin birth myth, and I brought up the fact to add to the confusion that I was told that it was through the divine grace of God Mary conceived as a virgin, or something to that effect.
The only thing I can think of that I would have said is in this day and age, in this political climate, in this climate of political correctness, with everything that they are presently saying about politicians, both Democrat and Republican, okay, I don't know how Mary would have been, how Mary would have responded, being told, I'm going to make you pregnant, whether you like it or not.
Right.
You know, that's the only thing I can think I might have said. I'm not. I don't remember it exactly. By the way, where in Missouri are you from?
Originally Herculaneum, but I live in Bonne Terre, St. Francis County.
All right, because you know I was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri. Hello?
Are you still there? Can you hear him?
Oh, I'm here. I'm here.
Did you hear what Rabbi said? He said he was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say more. I was waiting. I didn't want to interrupt again.
You're polite. Awesome. Good deal. Okay, well, did that kind of wrap up your question?
No, he had another question.
Oh, okay. That's what I was probably trying to get to. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brock.
Yeah, my I forgot what I was going to ask.
Uh-oh.
I'll call if I remember it.
Okay, that sounds good, man. Good.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that.
Good to hear your voice again, man. Shalom Aleichem. Take care. Bye. That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, man. He's in good company right now.
As
soon
as
no
he hangs
doubt.
up, he's going to remember.
Wow. Oh.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who forgets in the middle of something.
Right. Yep. You and me both. You and me both.
Right,
Okay.
George? I mean, what was your name? No, just kidding.
That's funny. All right. Are you watching the YouTube chat? By the way, hello, Green Acres Pest Control, Jason
right,
Akers, Kelsey Lynn. Good to see you. Let's see who else is out here. Michael Faircloth. Michael, blessings to you, brother. Jacqueline
Joaquin Ramos.
Oh, how do you say it? Joaquin?
Joaquin Ramos.
Okay, cool. And
Ramos,
then, hey,
Ramos.
there's Stuart again, Rabbi. Missouri Reaper, Grant Dunn. Hello, all. Very good. Awesome. Yeah, you guys can put your questions there. If you got any questions or thoughts, it's better and a lot more fun if you call in.
Put it in all caps so we'll notice it.
Hey, that's a good idea. That's perfect. Hey, Mitch, good to see you, buddy. Okay, I'm going to play this question. Let's see if I can figure out where it's at.
On May the 26th, 2016, about who is the real Jesus, and it sparked a question I have asked myself many times. Speaking of Moshe's comment of a prophet like me.
Okay, a prophet like Moses. I'm playing an audio, a voice clip. So what verse is that? That Deuteronomy, what is that?
I just had it. Give me a second.
I'm going to put it
I had
up
it right here.
I'm going to put it up on
Deuteronomy 18, verse 18.
Okay, Deuteronomy 18. Pardon me. 18. Very good. Let me pull up in English. Okay, and let's put that on screen so people can read along with us. Okay, so I'm going to play the voice clip again, picking up where I left off.
Was he or could he be a prophet like me, as Moshe predicted?
So could Jesus / Yeshua, whatever name you would choose to call him by, could he be not the, but at least a prophet like Moshe Rabbeinu?
If I were to apply all the credentials of Moshe to Yeshua and get rid of the casino smoke from Paul and Shaul, could he possibly be the one, as Yochanan the Immerser testified and was asked about?
Interesting. Cool. So we kind of touched base with this one time, basically asking the question was there anything about Jesus that fit the role of Mashiach? I don't know how deep we got into it, but she's kind of right on board with that same question.
Well, remember, Moses wasn't a Messiah either.
Correct, right.
Okay, he wasn't the Messiah either. So when look, first of all, I have to say this right off the bat, and that is the following. It's not Moshe, it's Moshe.
Right.
Okay.
I almost didn't know who she was talking about, to be honest with you.
Jesus never heard the name Yeshua in his life. Okay. Yochanan, it's not, I forgot even how she pronounced it.
She did, right? It was Yochanan.
I love it when they want to make themselves sound so Jewish, so they Hebraicize everything they can and butcher the pronunciation in the process.
Now, I want to jump in the jump rope real quick and just to say, it seems like this caller, obviously is messianic or was. It looks like she is, but maybe she's beginning to question things. So it's nice to see people.
And I hope she is.
Yeah, me too.
It doesn't sound like it to me. But either way, I hope the answer doesn't change.
Yeah, I thought she was.
The question is still the same. So let's go to the actual Deuteronomy 18:18.
Okay, let's pull it back up.
Okay.
All right, go for it. You going to read it or do you want me to?
No. Let me read it.
Okay.
Okay. Who is speaking? Okay. 17 says, and the Eternal said to me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I, meaning God, will raise them, meaning for the Jewish people, up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, meaning like Moses.
Now, why didn't I see that before? Why did I never see that they have well spoken? I just assumed that was God speaking through. That's interesting. I never saw that like that before.
Okay, well, at any rate, like unto thee, meaning Moses,
right?
And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not listen to my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. So whoever this is, who's supposed to be a prophet like Moses, is supposed to be reiterating all the things that we know are true that are coming from God. And if that prophet or that person who pretends to be a prophet starts speaking things that we know are contradictory to what God actually taught us, okay, then we don't listen to him.
Right.
This is repeated in other places in Deuteronomy 13, I believe also.
Right.
Okay, so how can Jesus or Yeshua or Yeshua or Yahshua or Yehoshu or Yahusha, okay, however they're pronouncing him this week, even come close to fitting that? Because dying, saving men gods, okay, are the domain of the pagan idolatry of Jesus's day, and certainly not of the Bible, certainly not of Judaism, and by the way, not of God either. So, remember something else. People forget this. Okay. The New Testament was not written by people who knew Jesus. The New Testament was written by people who were told about Jesus or who had, texts from previous witnesses or previous people. And the authors of the New Testament put them all together, and what they didn't have in front of them, they made up. So if you're trying to create an image of this guy named Jesus, who are you going to model him after?
Okay, speaking of...
You don't know enough about him. You don't know anything about him.
Okay, let's do this fairly in her question's eyes. What was it to be? Like we know it was Joshua, right? So Joshua was raised up as a prophet like Moses. What were the credentials? What were the things that needed to be identified?
Number one, first and foremost, would be speaking for God, who obviously does not change his mind, and therefore what he says God is saying reflects all that we know God had already said. Right. And then, alongside of that, you have, I guess you'd call it the successes of Joshua, okay, in military. We believe that God controls things, so if Joshua was having success in military, then obviously God was on his side. In the same way that Saul began to lose battles because God was no longer on his side, Joshua, if God really wasn't on his side, if God hadn't raised up Joshua in place of Moses, then Joshua would have been losing battles.
Right.
I mean, it's clear, it's logical, it's simple, should be obvious. Okay, so look, the stories of Jesus in the New Testament, some of them were intentionally written, created, invented, made up in order to make Jesus look like a second but better Moses than Moses was. So Moses gave law from a mountain, Jesus gave a speech from a mountaintop.
Right.
Moses was born when they were trying to kill all the male babies. Jesus was too.
So they were trying to really make it look.
They're trying to do everything they can to make to make Jesus look like a second Moses, but as a superior than Moses.
Right, gotcha. Right.
Superior to Moses. So
Yep.
Obviously, the stories of Jesus in the New Testament are going to sound like a second Moses. But if you read Deuteronomy 18:18, as we just did, where it tells us how we know that this prophet that's raised up like Moses is going to be truly that prophet, if he starts speaking about a dying, saving man God, okay, if he starts, putting down or insulting Jewish law, okay, the God-given Jewish law, remember that's what it was, that's what it is, then you have to reject him as Messiah, as prophet, as everything.
Oh, that's a mouthful. For sure. Well,
I hope that
that's
answered your question.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so what's it's coming up. It is the questions regarding Christmas and the whole birthday. Even
happy birthday to you.
Not mine. Actually, mine is coming up. Actually, now that you think about it.
Oh, happy birthday to you. When's your birthday?
Yeah, I'll be 19 on.
We all wish.
January the 32nd. Yeah. So January.
Excuse me. There's no January 32nd. When's your birthday?
January 4th.
January 4th?
Yeah. So hey, good news. We're just going to jibber jabber, guys. I need a phone call. Call in. Where's it? Who's watching the camera? Where's the camera recording right now? Right there. Oh, there you go. Okay, so too many cameras in here. Okay, so.
By the way, mine's January 13th.
Is it? No, it's not really.
Yeah, 9 days later.
That is cool. My younger brother, my younger half brother is January 13th. My mother is January 31st. Who else? My son is January 29th.
Well, you are all in January.
Yeah, and check this out. My daughter's birthday, who just passed, you saw the note on Facebook. I was really wanting one of my kids to be born on my birthday. I thought that'd be really cool. And they weren't, so my birthday numbers are 0104. I will skip the year, but 0104. Well, Sarah was born at 1:04 p.m.
Oh, that's funny.
I thought that was awesome.
Isn't it funny how numbers play in and play out of our lives?
Yeah. Certainly. So, So anyway, so good news. The studio building is supposed to be arriving next week, and I'm gonna be working some late nights. Modifying it to get it studio ready. It's going to take a while, but we'll,
wait. So you're going ahead now with the studio?
Oh well, the thing is, I can't build it myself because I did the math on how much time it would take me to do it, and how much money it would cost for me to pay for the materials to do it, and then also the amount of money that I would lose for not working. And my wife and I decided it'd probably be better just to get a prefab utility building and just modify it when it gets here. That way, when it comes, it'll be fully built. All I have to do is add.
Hi, Lorene.
I'll just have to add all the special stuff to it, like sheetrock and insulation, electrical wires, carpet, and that sort of thing. So it's still going to take once it's here, it'll probably take 3 to 6 months to get it usable. But it's going to be easier to move forward with at least now because the studio still here is functioning fine. The wife is tolerating my presence here since I'm only doing this every other week, and so it's working out okay. So, but the good news is it should be here, and I'm gonna post pictures and stuff when it gets here, so you can kind of see how everything's going to come. I'll have like a little progression thing put up. So, okay, guys, I'm really still waiting for y'all's phone call because otherwise me and Rabbi are just going to have a one-on-one conversation on each other's fun life.
Yeah, we may like that, but everybody else will be bored by it.
Yeah, right. Hey, what's really funny? It wasn't funny at all. My wife several years ago.
By the way, we got 2 different kinds of comments. One is on the live chat on YouTube, and then one is on your 360 thing.
Oh yeah, right. That's a good point.
We got two different places to look for comments.
Okay, cool. Let's see. I don't see any comments, and unless that phone rings, man, I'm telling you guys, we're just gonna have a fun time chit chatting. Now we got to come up with some good questions, but I know where I was going. The whole birthday thing coming up. The December 31st. Is it really true that all pagan deities, their birthdays are the winter solstice? Is that really true?
I don't know if it's true for all of them, but it doesn't surprise me that many or most would be, and here's why. Okay. The months like March, April, May, June, okay, September, whatever. Okay, these are the months in which there's a solstice or what's the other word?
No, I don't know. That's
equinox.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and it's always on the 20th or the 21st. So why is this the 25th?
Interesting.
It's because when the December one, okay, the winter solstice, the days start getting longer. And in the ancient world, even it would be now, you wouldn't notice the day lengthening immediately. It'd take a couple of days to show how it was starting to change again. So by the 24th, 25th, 3-4 days after the solstice, you're going to notice that the days are starting to get shorter again after it becoming very... Wait, did I just reverse that?
Probably, but it's okay. You get your point across.
Yeah, they're going to start getting longer again after being so short.
There we go. There's a money shot.
So a lot of birthdays of pagan gods became on the 25th because that's when they would have noticed the reversal of the time of daylight.
Got it. I'm sitting here looking at this camera right here, and my wife as soon as I looked at the camera, my wife just came up right behind it, so it's like I could look at her and the camera exactly at the same time and smile. So if you saw me smile, I was smiling at my wife, not at you.
Hi.
She's waving. Anyway, people on 360 can see, and hopefully they were turned away for a split second.
All right.
Anyway, oh boy. Okay, so here we go. There is a question on here, Don Spellinger. Do all Christians have to know that he is not God before the Messiah will come?
My answer is going to be quite simple. Who knows?
Gotcha.
The Messiah is going to come when God is ready. Okay, there are two traditions that the world has to be so improved by us humans that the Messiah comes to us to take it through the last, or the world becomes so bad that the Messiah comes because there's no other way to help us.
Okay, pause right there. I totally skipped the phone call. Caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Rock, Southeast Missouri.
Hey, Rock, you got your question?
Yes. Why is it there are so much contradictions between Paul and Peter?
Okay.
Good question.
I'm not quite sure if I'll be able to get into the whys. Okay, why are they so apart? But they both begin with two different attitudes. Peter and James believed in Judaism. Peter and James believed in the Bible. Peter and James believed in the efficacy of God's laws. Okay, Paul did not. Paul felt that the laws were a curse. I mean, Corinthians and Galatians 3 and all that ball of wax. Paul was very much against having to keep the laws of Judaism and wanted, what did he write to the people of Galatia? The question was, do we have to become Jews before we can become Christians? His answer was, God forbid. The whole point of Jesus coming is to make it so you don't have to become Jewish. Go straight to Christianity. Skip over the need for the law that being Jewish would require of you. Go straight to Christianity to get past all that, to get past the idea of the law. So Peter and James, William, help me with this. It's Acts 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there, 15, 16, where Paul gets pulled back into Jerusalem.
Acts 15, 1.
Say it again?
I think it's Acts 15. And a certain men which came down from Judea. Yeah,
right.
So, Acts 15, 1.
The point is that Paul gets pulled back because he's basically telling everybody, oh, don't follow this silly law. The whole purpose of the law is to tell you can't keep the law. So go straight to Christianity and, forget this Jewish law business. So, and he gets pulled back to Jerusalem by Peter and James, and basically called on the carpet for it. And even though Paul would have done what we called losing the battle, he won the war because ultimately Christianity started going into a very non-legal, non-law, anti-law what's called what's the fancy term?
Legalistic.
Antinomian.
Oh yeah, that's more fancy than I can
Antinomian,
work with.
against the law.
Okay.
So Paul may have been told by Peter and James to start sticking more to Jewish law, and he may have told them in Acts 15:16, oh yeah, I'll do it, I'll be better. But over time, since the majority of people becoming Christians were increasingly pagan in their origins, okay, then they didn't have to keep the law in the first place. They were never at Mount Sinai. They were never Jews. The laws were given to the Jews, not to the non-Jews. So as Christianity became increasingly pagan in its believers, and less Jews were becoming Christian,
but over time,
then the whole effect, whatever of Jewish law, fell away.
There we go. Sorry.
And what you've got left is Paul's antinomian and anti-law attitudes.
Right. Oh.
Now I'm not sure
That's very
enough of
interesting.
Look, Paul says a lot of things about his Jewishness, about, I studied with Gamaliel. He says, but he also messes up a lot of things when he's reiterating Jewish history and Jewish law, and his attitudes are very not Jewish. So it is a subject of debate, I'll put it that way, on whether or not Paul was ever Jewish. So, but Peter and James have a very strong affinity for God's laws. Okay, that's why, Paul is very well known. William, you'll, chime in here, please. But Paul was very well known for, the laws of curse, and,
Right.
and all you need is faith. Look, what are works? When it says, can't be saved by works and all that stuff, what is that really referring to? That's referring to doing Judaism's laws, the God-given laws that God gave to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai, 613. That's what that's referring to. So when Paul says, oh, you don't need works, you only need faith, Peter and James come back, like the book of James, and say, no. You need works as well as having the faith. It's supposed to be the faith leads you to do the works. And the works they're talking about is, following the mitzvot, the commandments.
Right. Okay, we'll move on to this next caller. Caller, welcome to the show. By the way, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I can't hang up on one without hanging up on the other, without answering the other. So, and the calls are actually coming in. So, if you call while another caller's on, I won't be able to catch you. Like right now, call waiting is ringing in, but I can't answer it. So I'm going to have to send you right now to voicemail, whoever 5975 is. They're going to wind up going to voicemail. So if you want to wait until we get it clear, I'll try to keep the loans. I forgot to change the banner on the screen to let you know when the caller's on. But anyway, we have a caller on. So caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Hello?
Yes, you are live on the air. Do you have a question for Rabbi?
Yes, hi, my name is Grant, and my question is, it involves 1 Thessalonians 2:14 and 15, but it's just from personal experience. But why do Messianics pretend to be Jewish but show hatred when you don't accept the New Testament or the Jesus story?
1 Thessalonians 2:14, for your brethren became followers of the churches of God which in Judea are in Christ Jesus, for ye also have suffered like things of your own countrymen. Is this the verses you're speaking of, even as they have, even as they have of the Jews?
Right.
So like the Jews.
This is the very famous passage in Thessalonians.
So let's, just for clarity's sake, Rabbi, let's, caller, would you please just re-clarify the question real clearly in about a sentence, if you could?
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you go to a Messianic congregation, like obviously they're being Jewish,
right,
but when you don't accept the New Testament or like the Jesus story, they kind of showed like hatred, and like all of them told me I was like evil, kind of, except for like one.
Right.
So I was just wondering, like, why is that reaction like that so much? Is it just the way that they're reading the New Testament, or like the maybe the indoctrination of like what they were raised in Christianity to believe that is showing that hatred? Because I mean, like, they treated me so wonderful, but when I told them I converted to Judaism, they kind of told me to leave.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
There is so much that goes into this. Okay. First and foremost, understand that the whole concept of Messiah is Jewish. We invented the term. It's the Hebrew language that creates the term Mashiach. It's the Jewish people who define it. We're the ones who are supposed to most intimately know the Messiah and recognize the Messiah when he comes, right? So if we deny Jesus as being the Messiah, then it is a bigger negation of their faith and their religion than if some random Hindu says, oh no, Jesus wasn't the Messiah.
Keller,
what do they know? They're Hindus.
Keller, I'm going to go ahead and hang up so we can free up the phone lines. Okay, you got your question in full, right?
Okay. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Okay, brother. We'll keep.
Thank you, but
we'll keep chatting about it for a minute or so.
What?
I said we'll keep chatting about it though until we get a phone call.
All right. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the point is that first and foremost, if anybody at all should know who the Messiah is or was, it should be the Jews. And if we reject Jesus as having been the Messiah, it is a greater negation of their faith and their belief than if some other random religion member rejects Jesus. Now, there are other things too, and that is the following. I don't care who you are, okay? For people who are born Jewish, okay, Jews by chance, when they read the spiritual autobiographies of the Jews by choice, namely those people who have converted to Judaism, it is the most inspirational, uplifting literature for the Jewish community that you can possibly imagine, because they get exposed to a side of Judaism they didn't even necessarily know was there.
Right.
You know, they come to see Judaism from a different viewpoint, namely those who have attached themselves to God and his mitzvot, rather than those who grew up with it and therefore take it for granted. So it doesn't matter who is converting to what religion. The people who believe in a religion, who then have somebody convert to their religion, reestablishes, reaffirms their belief system.
Yep.
So if they find somebody who says, oh, well, I converted to Judaism, not only are you a bigger slap in the face to the Christian community because it's Judaism you chose, you should have known better because you began as a Christian. You see the psychological dynamics that are taking place here?
Right, I do. And one thing that comes to my mind on this whole thing is I think the biggest issue that I see with these messianics are they are, first of all, it's not the born Jew, the DNA Jew that actually will retaliate against you. Those probably are the ones who are going to be more gentle with you. It's the ones who...
I don't agree with you. That's not my experience.
Gotcha. So I guess it's kind of up in the air on both ways then. So I would say, because there's so much replacement theology, that even with the Messianics that are not Jewish blood, right? They are taught that the church is a new Jesus. Now, then they find out, oh, well, we're even better than them because we actually keep the law. And so I think it's the whole replacement theology that's actually caused them to completely shun anybody who's actually Jewish, and especially ones who actually turn their back on the New Testament. That's just my opinion. So.
And I agree with you. I think that's very much a part of it. And then you take a look at all the anti-Jewish stuff that's in the New Testament. Okay, the law is a curse. The purpose of Jewish law is to curse you. The Jews are blind. The Jews murdered all their prophets. Yada, yada, yada. Right. Okay, all their propaganda, it lends itself towards teaching policy of hate. Okay, take a look at the nun, probably now an ex-nun, who wrote a book called Faith and Fratricide. Fratricide means killing your brother. So it's called Faith and Fratricide by a nun who wrote about the incredible anti-Semitic belief system and effect on how Christianity treated Judaism over the last 2,000 years. You read that book, you'll see what their anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic, anti-Judaism got the Jewish people. So if you're raised in it and you think this guy's going to convert to your faith and it turns out he actually did the opposite, it's a greater insult to them. They're going to react accordingly.
Right. Okay, listen, I'm going to take just a quick minute here because we got about 20 minutes left. But I want to, before we do take this caller, I want to just hit real quick on two things. Number one, your book, Judaism and Christianity: A Contrast. Some of the new viewers out there are new and they're unaware of this book. You must have this book. It's really great. A lot of you already have Rabbi Singer's 2-volume book set. This is a highly condensed version of something like that. But this truly shows the differences between the two, which is something you should know. So you'll definitely want to get that Amazon, or you can get it on Kindle if I'm not mistaken. And go to.
It's on Kindle. It's on Nook.
Yep.
It's on ebook. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, William.
Hey, yeah. Hold it up one more time. I actually didn't.
Oh,
I've got two screens up, and I didn't have the one up I wanted to have up. There you go. I've actually got it on your logo next to your name down here, but they can see the. Turn it on its spine. Let's see the spine. There you go. So it's a pretty easy read. Is that a hardcover?
This is the one I got now is a hardcover. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, I got softcover. I just realized I see a couple extra ripples in that back. Cool. So yeah, so I guess available in hardcover or softcover. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, awesome. Okay, and then this is another book by a Facebook friend, and Rabbi, you probably wouldn't mind reading this too. I'm guessing. I haven't read it yet.
I may have already read it. Which one?
It's called 10 from the Nations. Torah Awakening Among Non-Jews. And so this is, I'm going to try to not block your face.
William, I haven't even heard of that.
This is Rivka Lambert. Let me put it up on a different camera so we can actually see it better. Let's see if I can do this here. There we go. Oh, I got that backwards. Sorry. I don't know why it's displaying backwards. Can you see that normally, or is it backwards? I can't tell.
Wait a minute.
Either way, I can fix it. Watch this. I got this.
No, it's backwards.
Ah, rats. I've got the camera reversed. Anyway, that's okay.
What is it?
It's called
Torah Awakening Among Non-Jews.
Yeah, it's actually got, there's probably about 30 or 40, I don't know, little mini testimonies in here of different people who were Christian or Messianic and left the movement and is moving towards Tanakh, solely dedicating their lives to Tanakh. And my testimony is actually in here as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like on page 34 or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, I haven't read the book yet, but it's really cool to see a lot of testimonies in one big chunk. It'd be really cool to actually read that. So 10 from the Nations.
William,
yes, sir.
When I started being a rabbi and people would come to me to convert them to Judaism and everything else, one of the things I used to require of them is to write a spiritual autobiography that I always wanted to do exactly what she did. Put them all, assemble them all, and put them all into a book.
Gotcha. Yep, that's definitely a cool thing to do for sure. So anyway, Rivka Lambert. Rivka Lambert Adler, PhD. So so it's a great book. If you don't have it, check it out. It'd be pretty cool. And be sure to tell Rivka that I referred you to it. She might give me a testimony if she knows I'm referring a lot of her books out. I'd like to get her on the air, which we've already talked about. She's going to come on eventually as soon as I get all my scheduling figured out. So, okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and take this caller now. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Renee from South Texas.
Renee, welcome to the show. What's the question for Rabbi?
Thank you. Yes, I had a question. How severe is the punishment for the people of Israel when people from the nations, leave Christianity and look for Hashem, kind of like in Jonah's time when God sent him to preach to Nineveh and they repented? How bad is it for Israel when other nations repent and look for God, and when a person is born Jew, but in reality they don't care for their for being a Jew, for God's law? Does that count against Israel? Does God see that and hold them accountable because the law was given to the Jews and not to the people of nations?
I
understand I'm sorry, go ahead, William.
Nope, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, if I understood your question correctly, the answer is yes. Okay, Jews who know Judaism and do not keep Judaism, don't keep the 613 commandments, are going to have a greater problem, punishment, whatever you want to call it, than Jews who were given the law, but they're like a kidnapped child, is the way it's translated, who never knew about it. Okay, so even if a person's Jewish, but didn't know, either they didn't know they were Jewish or they didn't know it was involved with Jewish law, they'd never been introduced to it, maybe their parents were secular, for whatever reason, they didn't know what they were supposed to be doing, they're not going to be held to it. But a person who was exposed to Judaism knows that there are 613 commandments commanded by God to the Jewish people through Moses at Sinai, and they don't keep it. Yeah, of course their punishment is going to be greater. But I didn't understand what you were saying about, I thought you were saying about people who converted, but I couldn't really hear that part.
I think he was talking about, I actually thought he was talking about, and he's still on the phone with us, he can clarify, people who were born Jewish, but maybe they were raised in a Christian household, and they're trying to return to Judaism, but now they can't because they're getting pushed away.
Right. They're a infant who was stolen, who was kidnapped. It's like their parents never exposed them to Judaism and was desired from them. How would they know? What he's talking about, I think, are the people who knew, the Jews who knew, but rejected it. They didn't follow it. Yes, of course the punishment is greater. If you were on a jury somebody says you were supposed to take care of your property and you didn't take care of it, and somebody got hurt on your property, therefore you're liable. And the guy said, and the person who owns the land says, what are you talking about? I didn't know I had to take care of this part of the land. Yes, it's mine, but I don't live on that part of the land. Why would I have to? I didn't know I had to take care of it. As a jury member, you're probably going to be more lenient than someone who says, well, of course I knew I had to take care of that, but I wasn't going to. And if the person falls on my property, that's his problem. You're going to come down on the second person far more strongly than you would on the first.
Now, see, I must have misunderstood his question, because I thought he was asking what would be the punishment to Israel as a whole for not accepting people coming out of idolatry, for turning them away rather than letting them come in.
Well, I didn't hear that one at all.
Okay, that's kind of what, maybe I missed it completely. Did we answer your question, or are we missing it, or are we on it?
You're kind of like on the right path, Israel as a whole, because my question is, when the first temple was destroyed, it didn't have to, go to that extent, but like at that time, all the Jews were pretty much observant. That's what I think when I read the Bible. But when I see like Jonah going to Nineveh, which they were, doing a lot of things, they didn't even know God's law, and they were able to repent.
Right.
And in Israel's case, I mean, they had the prophets and everything. So I guess that's my question.
Okay, but remember that the Jews of today are scattered. They're not in a ghetto or shtetl, which provides some protection against the assimilation. They're scattered all over the place. They're in areas where, they don't live in a Jewish area, Jewish neighborhood, Jewish anything. They're not exposed to Jewish law. They're not exposed to the practice and beauty of Judaism. And I don't think that in those instances where the community of Israel, the people of Israel, are so scattered, they're not in a unified area like they were in the time of the prophets. They were in Israel. Okay, so I don't think God is going to hold the entire people of Israel as guilty as they did back then, as God did back then, simply because the society and its structures are so different now. I mean, I must tell you, I've never had this question. I'm very surprised, frankly. Good for you. I'm very surprised whenever I get a question I haven't heard before. Mm-hmm. But I have not been asked this question, so I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know how best to answer you. I can only go on instinct, and if I view God as being merciful, compassionate, just, righteousness, and forgiving, we're not, like you said, southern Texas. I'm also in Houston, Texas. You know, the Jews are scattered throughout the greater Houston area. Yes, in one area they're more concentrated than others, but it's not like there's a ghetto that we're living in, or a shtetl that we're living in outside of Houston. So the influence that the Jewish community can have on its own self is much more limited. You know, if you grow up in a ghetto, in a shtetl, if you grow up where everybody you see is Jewish and they're all doing Judaism, you're going to do it too. But if you grow up in an area where every other house on your street has Christmas decorations, because we're now entering that time of the year, God's not going to hold the entire Jewish community responsible, because the Jewish community isn't a community. It's scattered. It's dispersed. I hope I'm making some sense.
So that pretty much answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good deal. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
But William,
Yes.
William, do we have somebody else on the line or not?
No.
Good. William, in
Yes.
the last month, let's say, I have heard, to go with how you are understanding his question, I have heard horror stories of people who are coming out of Christianity, who are genuinely interested in serving God, who want to know more about the Jewish faith, about the Jewish people, about Judaism, about the Tanakh, about Talmud, about everything Judaism, and rabbis of every stripe, all stripes, okay, every denomination, whatever you want to call them, of Judaism, flatly reject them. And it is disgusting to me. I don't understand how a rabbi who values Judaism can find somebody or have somebody come to them and say, I want to learn about Judaism because I value it, and shun them, kick them out, treat them rudely. I think that is Chilul Hashem. I think that is profaning the name of God.
Okay, now I'm going to take you back about 3 years, 2.5 years maybe. There were some friends of mine who were Messianic. They were with the same Messianic group that I did. And they seemed to be like not normal Messianics. They seemed to be more like I was. I was really interested in oral law and things like that, and I was not following typical mainstream Messianic faith at all. And they literally really pushed towards Torah. Well, if you remember correctly, I told you about that they were going to be attending a synagogue in Austin, and they were going for a conversion, but they were still Messianic. Now, they were secret Messianics. Remember I told you about that? And remember you said, you know what, that rabbi needs to know. If he doesn't know,
absolutely,
right? So looking at it from that perspective, I can see why the rabbis would push, and not make it so easy, because they have a really hard time identifying who's sneaky, who's actually lying about their faith, and who's being genuine, you know?
But William, there's a difference between protecting the Jewish people, okay, and validating and verifying a person's sincerity,
okay,
and just being a creep to the people.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
You see what I'm saying?
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Look, I've had my more than my share of people who come to my synagogue, okay, only to find out that they were Messianic.
Right.
Okay. And once I find out they're Messianic, and as an example, and they say, you know, Shabbat Shalom to me, I'm going to say thank you.
Right.
I'm not going to say Shabbat Shalom back to them. It's not their Shabbat.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
Okay.
Right.
I must tell you, I'm not going to try to win them over with warmth. I don't want them there. I'm not in the business of teaching and helping Jews for Jesus,
right,
you know, become more Jewish or be more knowledgeable to ensnare other unsuspecting, ignorant Jews.
Right. Agreed.
So But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who at least seems to be genuinely interested in learning about God and getting and what's the word to not stick what how do you to be like glue to God. They want to be they want to be attached to God. Okay. And getting treated like crap from stupid rabbis. Or not even rabbis. Maybe it's just members of the synagogues or temples. And I don't understand it. It is exactly Joaquin Ramos. I was turned away from the Orthodox. This is why I'm converting to the conservative movement, although it would not be recognized, it's okay. So Joaquin is telling me that in my instance I'm right. I understand if rabbis have been burned. I understand if leadership of synagogues have been, trusting somebody who turns out to be an infiltrator. I understand that feeling, but you cannot let it pervert how you treat others because, like Joaquin was talking about on the live chat on the YouTube channel, that's not what is meant by the Talmudic injunction to push away with one hand but pull closer with the other. I don't understand people like that. I don't get it. Right. And I'd love to have a little conversation with some of those rabbis.
Yeah. I can see how that push away.
I don't think they would like my conversation with them.
Well, I can see how the push away and pull should apply to someone leaving the church because you want to push them away with your weak hand, but pull them near with your strong hand. But
I'm sorry, but in this day and age, I don't think we should push away at all.
Right.
Okay. They'll turn their own hand. We'll get to know whether or not they're sincere or not. We'll find out if they're infiltrators, okay, or and idolaters, or if they're really believers in the one true God. It'll come out.
Yeah, that's true. It will.
Okay. You ask the right questions. You listen carefully enough. Become knowledgeable about Messianic Jews and Jews for Jesus and Hebrew Christians and all that stuff.
Right.
You could flush them out. I mean, even I've been fooled. Okay, right. I'll admit that. As a matter of fact, it made the Forward newspaper, 20 whatever years ago. Okay, right. So if a person wants to deceive, there's nothing you can do about it. But you cannot let other people's deception pervert and damage how you treat potential converts.
Okay, final question. Was Jesus a good man, or was he a Torah violator?
And my answer is, how can we possibly know? Because it's like trying to find what is called the historical Jesus based on the New Testament writings. How can you? The New Testament was written by people who are already believing in Jesus. We have no way to know what Jesus did do or what Jesus didn't do, even if the New Testament text says he did something or didn't do something. Okay.
Right.
You can take an issue like he's gleaning the wheat as he passed by it. He just grabs the top part of the stalk or whatever and throws it in his mouth. Okay, but did that really happen? Let's pretend it did happen. He is violating the Sabbath when he does so.
Right.
Okay, but how can we know if he really did that or not?
Right, because he never wrote anything. The witnesses weren't really witnesses.
And the witnesses are very. Look, wait a minute. We did this, William. Didn't we have a video that we did together on the Christmas story and how it doesn't jive one with the other?
Yeah.
How only Matthew and Luke have a birth story of Jesus, a Christmas story of Jesus, and how they completely contradict each other, and you can't resolve both of them into one single stream story.
Right.
So it is. We don't know who the real Jesus was, and I don't think we can know to be able to answer a question like that.
Right.
And that may be a cop out, but you can pick things that he said. You can point out that he misquotes the Bible and misrepresents the Bible and all this stuff, but you don't know what he said. So how worthwhile is it? Remember something. We Jews are not responsible for what's found in the New Testament because we don't believe in the New Testament.
Right.
What we can do and should do is challenge Christians because it's their text. They do have to defend it.
Which leads me to my last. We're going to call this an exercise. This isn't really a question. It is a question, but it'll be a fun exercise. 10 major points. We'll alternate. You list one, I'll list one, or we can get as close to 10 as we want to. Things that people should know about the New Testament. I'll go first. The Gospels were not written first. What's yours?
Well, what I just said is that even a gospel who says that Jesus did or said something doesn't mean he actually did or said it.
Right. So number 3 could be kind of half of 2 or 2B. Jesus never wrote anything down, nor did they have any direct dictations on what to write. So number 4?
Well, the only thing, William, the only thing you can say he wrote is when the adulteress comes to him, he's doing something in the ground. Okay?
That's a really good point.
You don't know that he was writing anything.
Right.
Maybe he was doing math problems for his algebra teacher. Okay.
That's a really good point.
Another thing about the New Testament.
So this would be 5?
Wait, is this whatever? Okay. Let's see that you should know. The gospel called John. I'm sorry, not the gospel, but the book called James, the writings of James. The word James never existed 2,000 years ago, and the only reason why there's a book called James is because King James wanted his name in the King James Bible.
Wow, that's crazy.
All of a sudden, the author of James became called James as opposed to whatever it was, probably Yochanan or something like that.
Okay, number 6. Okay, so Paul never heard of a virgin birth. Number 7.
If you're going to take it out of the Gospels, periods of time in the writings of Paul when he had a beautiful introduction and could have brought in his own personal experience of the flash of light on the road to Damascus, never says anything about it. So if he's talking about conversion experiences, for example, or the realization of Jesus truly being the Messiah in the other writings, but he only mentions the conversion, his own personal conversion experience at the falling off the donkey, on the road to Damascus. It kind of makes it sound like he made up the whole thing to begin with. Otherwise, he'd have used it more often in his writings. Right.
Okay. So number 8 would be Paul's writings were first, and there was about a 10-year gap, 10, 20, 30, and 40 years between the Gospels as they showed up one at a time, about a 10-year gap between each one. They weren't all gathered at the same time. 9?
Okay, this is probably a subset of what you just said.
That's good.
Okay, first, the term rabbi does not mean teacher. Okay, that's important to know.
Okay.
But second of all, there are only 2 Gospels that use the term rabbi. One is Matthew, one is John. The passages where the word rabbi is found in Matthew were probably interpolated in. That means that some scribe, as he's copying a new book called Matthew, adds in a paragraph to his manuscript where Jesus is referred to as rabbi. The word rabbi didn't exist until after the destruction of the Second Temple in the year 70, and it probably took anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 years where that word started to be used as a title and then was retrofitted to refer to the rabbis of the early Mishnaic period. But in the days of those rabbis in the Mishnaic period, so 200 BCE to about 200 CE, they themselves were never called rabbis until after the destruction of the Second Temple in the year 70. Later, they may have been referred to as rabbis, but the term didn't exist until after the destruction of the temple.
Okay.
And by the way, that helps people date the book of John to the late 90s, to middle or late 90s, according to most Christian scholars. Will say that the book of John, the Gospel of John, was written after the year 90.
Cool.
One of the things they use is because it uses the word rabbi in the text.
Okay, and number 10. The New Testament misquotes prophecies. There was no virgin birth. I'll leave it at that. You can elaborate all you want on that one.
Left and right.
Yeah.
Misquotes the Hebrew scriptures, misrepresents them, mistranslates them.
Tell me about the Nazarene. Tell me about the Nazarene, because that's the one that's most argued by Messianics. Say, well, it didn't really mean Nazaris versus Nazri or whatever.
Right.
Let's end the show on that topic, on that particular prophecy.
So let's go to Matthew.
All right.
What is it, 3 or 2? I think it's 2.
I don't know, my good rabbi. Matthew.
Let's see. Yeah, it's Matthew 2 verse 23.
Got it. Okay, what
this is part of the contradictory statements between Matthew and Luke regarding the Christmas story. Okay. In Matthew, Jesus is born in Bethlehem because his family is from Bethlehem. There's no mention of an inn. There's no mention of a barn. There's no mention of a manger because Jesus was born at his home. Okay. So he goes from, and the way the camera's facing, I hope to do this correctly, he goes from Nazareth to Egypt and then to, he goes from Bethlehem to Egypt to Nazareth. In Luke, Jesus starts out in the belly of Mary in Nazareth, comes down to Bethlehem where he's born, and then goes back up to Nazareth. Okay, so this is the Matthew version, and they leave Egypt and come back into Israel, but instead of going to Bethlehem, they're still afraid to go there, so they go to the Galilee and go to Nazareth. And then Matthew chapter 2 verse 23 reads, "And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene."
Okay, now what's the problem with that?
The problem is that there's nowhere in any prophet of the Hebrew scriptures that uses, quote, the sentence, quote, "he shall be called a Nazarene," end of quote. And in every single translation I have ever seen of the New Testament, it is clear from the way it's punctuated by the people who write the translation that, quote, "he shall be called a Nazarene," end quote, was something that was said by a prophet in the Hebrew scriptures. And then they may say, oh, well, it doesn't really mean Nazarene, it means Netzer, which means branch, and Jesus was the branch. Nonsense.
Right.
The text of Matthew makes it look like, quote, "he shall be called a Nazarene," end quote, is a statement made by a prophet, and it's nowhere to be found in the entire Tanakh.
Interesting. Okay, closing thought. Check this out. I just saw a comment on the Facebook page, Tanakh Talk, and I don't really get to see those comments much, but every once in a while I try to check in to make sure I didn't miss anything. This one viewer brought up a really, really, really great point. It's always talked about the second coming of Jesus, right? Well, technically...
Third coming.
Yeah, you saw that comment already, right?
No, I didn't see any comment.
Oh, that's funny, because she goes, well, if he came once, he was born, and then he died, and he came back to life, that's the second coming. So are they waiting for the third coming then? That is brilliant. That is earth-shattering. Man, I'll tell you what, it's amazing to see all the stuff that people are overlooking and they're missing, or they're starting to see. So many people are afraid to question it, though. They're afraid to go to their pastor and ask them because they're going to look like an outcast. Keep searching, man. I'm telling you, you gotta find this stuff. Rabbi, it's been a great show. It's been a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it. Always is.
Always do. Same here. Shalom, everybody. We will see you guys again later on. So, hope I can find my exit. There it is. Oh, and by the way, this exit credits, I got to put a few people in there. I have forgotten. One of my most important ones I forgot to put in the credits. Jason Akers, Green Acres Pest Controls on YouTube. He has been a dedicated techie for Tanakh Talk for well over a year and has bailed us out. You know Jason, he's helped you out I think before a couple times. I'm not really sure. And then also one more, Mitch Houston he's my audio sound tech guy. So I got to put both these guys on the closing credits. So they're not on there now, but they will be. And so be patient with me. It takes a while. Shalom everybody.